an opportunity to push back, she didn't. Therefore, she did on it. And this is in an interview in which she speaks extensively about how she uses her art to be able to pass on difficult ideas that make people think. She's not naive, she's
my past, like connect with people and empathize with people. What?
No, I don't know. I'm just, you think you're interesting enough?
No.
You know, not everyone is interesting enough to have a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you two made it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The title is not clickbait. This is real. This is an announcement that we, after 40 years of this
40 years
of this
How long
award-winning
has it been?
podcast.
How long?
It started in 2019.
Loud and clear. After 6 years, we are going to be saying goodbye to the tripod at the end.
We gotta get into this drama because the Try Guys just threw some sharp shade at Ned Fulmer, and they didn't even try to hide it. In their latest podcast episode, while they were talking about ending the show, they slipped in a few wild little jabs that had people raising eyebrows. And now their own fans are calling them out for it, so the whole situation is getting messy real fast. But that's not all, because Benson Boone finally reacted to not getting a Grammy nomination, and he had a lot to get off his chest. And then Sydney Sweeney jumped in to respond to everybody saying her movie, Christie, flopped, plus people dragging her because all 4 of her movies this year didn't hit the mark. Even Ruby Rose is calling her out, so it's turning into a full-on showdown out here. And on top of all that, Ariana Grande got rushed by a stranger at the Wicked premiere this week, and the clip had the whole internet stressed out. It's been a lot happening at once. Seriously. So hey, it's Christy, and welcome back to the Weekly Teacap. We need to break down this Ariana Grande situation because it was intense. She was walking the carpet at the Wicked premiere, holding hands with Michelle. Cynthia was right there. And out of nowhere, this random stranger ran straight toward her and tried to grab at her. They were jumping around in her personal space, and you could see Ariana freeze up because she was overwhelmed. And the wildest part? Cynthia is the one who reacted the fastest and stepped in to protect Ariana, not the security team. Like, where were the security guards during all this? How was Cynthia the first person to jump in and help while security was standing back? Ariana looked completely shaken. And honestly, after everything she's been through, something like this can hit her extra hard. Then the person who ran up to her went on social media bragging about it, which had people upset instantly. Folks were like, why would you hop online to brag about scaring someone like that? But this seems to be what this guy does. He's done the same thing to The Weeknd and Katy Perry, and every time he pulls a stunt like this, he gets millions of views. So clearly he's doing it for attention, even though the comments are dragging him non-stop and telling Instagram to remove his account. People are seriously asking why he even has a platform when that's the type of content he posts. It's honestly unbelievable. And on a lighter note, I gotta say, I actually got to see Wicked yesterday. I went to an early screening, and when I saw that invite hit my inbox, I almost fell out of my chair. I'm literally editing this video after going to the event last night, and it was unreal. We got to watch the movie, and I was so overwhelmed because I couldn't believe I was seeing it early. Then they put us on a bus and took us to a TikTok after party where they gave us a yellow brick from the Yellow Brick Road, plus a bunch of super cool Wicked-themed activations everywhere. The whole night felt magical, and my brain is still trying to catch up. There was so much happening at that event, I could barely keep up because there were people everywhere and I was still trying to process the movie. I laughed, I cried, and I had moments where I was straight up giddy because the energy was unreal. And I have to say, the girl in the bubble absolutely stole my heart. Now let's jump into Benson Boone reacting to not getting a Grammy nomination this year for Moonbeam Ice Cream. A lot of folks were rooting for him, and honestly, I do like Benson Boone no matter what people say. Some people stay hating on his music, but I went through a phase this year where his songs were on repeat because they're catchy and they get stuck in your head like glue. Did I think he was going to get a Grammy nomination? Not really, but this week he hopped on Instagram and poked fun at himself for not getting one. He joked like he couldn't believe Moonbeam Ice Cream didn't get nominated and said it was pure lyrical genius, which had everybody cracking up because he clearly wasn't taking himself too seriously. Last year, he was nominated for Best New Artist. So I'm sure it still stings, but at least he can laugh about it and maybe switch things up with his next album. Now when it comes to Sydney Sweeney, people have been talking nonstop. Between the American Eagle jeans situation and the GQ interview where she addressed it, she's been trending all week. But this time, everyone was focused on her film, Christy. It's a biopic about boxer Christy Martin, and Sydney plays the lead. But things didn't go the way her team probably hoped. The movie had a pretty big budget at over $15 million, but the domestic opening was only $1.3 million, and people online were quick to call it a flop. Christy Martin was a well-known female boxer and a proud lesbian, and Sydney Sweeney is straight. And that's where things got even messier because actress Ruby Rose jumped on threads and called her out hard. Ruby claimed that she and many other lesbian actresses were in the running for the role and said she felt Sydney didn't deserve it and ended up ruining the film. She posted, "The original Christy Martin script was incredible. Life-changing. I was attached to play Cherry. Everyone had experience with the core material. Most of us were actually gay. It's part of why I stayed in acting." She kept going, saying losing roles is normal. But for her PR to talk about it flopping and saying Sweeney did it for the people. None of the people want to see someone who hates them parading around pretending to be us. Then she ended with, "You're A. And you ruined the film period. Christy deserved better." When I read this, my jaw hit the floor because Ruby Rose went straight for Sydney Sweeney's neck with zero hesitation. It was wild to see her lay it all out like that. The internet has been dragging Sydney Sweeney nonstop, pointing out how several of her recent movies didn't perform well, and she seemed to quietly respond on Instagram after Christy flopped. She posted a long message saying she doesn't do this work for money or numbers, and she wanted people to understand the heart behind the project. She shared, "I am so deeply proud of this movie, proud of the film David made, proud of the story we told, proud to represent someone as strong and resilient as Christy Martin. This experience has been one of the greatest honors of my life." She went on to say the film stands for survival, courage, and hope, and explained how the campaign raised awareness for people affected by DV.
That's been a joy, and Rainey's been able to give us the dumbest segments imaginable, and I've loved that.
Thank you,
Truly.
and great to serve.
Yeah, honestly, a huge shout out, Rainey. I feel that, the podcast was left in her hands, and I feel that she did an astounding job.
Truly.
It is obviously a huge honor. We hope to be able to work with you, Rainey, in the future again on bring you back. And
Because the guy at work, sorry. But
I feel like that is what happened.
Pam's not blameless. Like, oh, it's all Jim. But like, Roy was engaged to a lady at work, and then one of the people at work. I mean, kind of a familiar story if you think about it.
Cam, nothing's coming to mind. We've had multiple podcasts across the company.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Five even.
8.
I heard that you were still on the back end of one of those podcasts.
Oh.
Dan, I really wish you would have noticed a little before today.
Well, no, this isn't like, I think we can talk about this.
There's a
Who gives a
podcast
shit?
that you used to
There's
work
a
on that
podcast
got
I
rebranded.
Can I say it? Doesn't matter, I guess.
And you were...
I used to work on a podcast, and it's what's crazy is that, like, because I created all those channels, I was still an admin on some of them. And then if your podcast channel gets rebranded to be a new channel, that's maybe something new, then I stay an admin. And I got a notification today that I was only just now removed as an admin on that podcast.
If feels like
I know, really,
feels
I
like
could've
they
gone in
should
there.
have really looked through who had access. You'd think they'd be more careful.
Yeah,
Because
that's right.
usually-
when you left,
Are you saying this person had bad judgment?
She said, if the movie helped even one woman take a step towards safety, then they succeeded. Sydney closed by saying she's proud because art isn't always about numbers. Sometimes it's about impact. She said, Christy has been the most impactful project of my life. Thank you, Christy. I love you. It was clear she wanted to show her intentions came from a real place. But while Sydney was saying the film wasn't about the box office, Ruby Rose wasn't feeling any of it. And it definitely looked like Ruby didn't appreciate how Sydney and her team were framing the flop, which only added more heat to the situation. Then Christy Martin herself stepped in and defended Sydney. She posted a photo of the two of them together and wrote, "I've always been a fighter. My life reflected that in every way, and now I fight for others. The past few days, I have seen some people attack my friend Sydney Sweeney. Syd not only worked her butt off for this film, she worked her butt off for me, for my story, for so many others suffering in silence. She finished it by saying Sydney is her friend and an ally, which was a strong statement. And of course, people still haven't forgotten that GQ interview that caused a major wave online. A lot of viewers didn't like her answers, and some even said the interview changed how they see her. And this week, it came out that even some celebrities didn't vibe with it either. That started when Jupiter Ball, a history and politics creator, posted a video breaking down the interview and explaining why he felt certain answers were harmful or dismissive. And y'all, Christina Ricci, Amy Lou Wood, and SSA all liked his video. That made the internet go wild because it showed some of her industry peers saw the same issues too. So yeah, it's been a stressful stretch for Sydney Sweeney lately. Between the internet criticizing her films, actors calling her out, and peers reacting to her interviews, it's just been pressure from every direction. Now buckle up, because we have to get into the Try Guys throwing a bit of shade at Ned this week. This happened during a podcast where they talked about ending their show, The Tripod, and things got interesting real quick. They were discussing wrapping up the podcast, the projects they're moving on to, and how they plan to evolve now that the tripod is done. And that's when the subtle digs at Ned started slipping in. They said they're bringing certain things back and dropping extra videos, but the fans were not having it at all. The comment section instantly lit up, and people were dragging the guys because they were worried about what this meant for Rainey. She works specifically on the podcast, the fans adore her, and to them it sounded like she was losing her job without knowing what her future even looked like. People were writing comments like, "Honestly, this is probably the worst move to make." Another person said, "This is the most authentic Try Guys experience ever." That sucks big time. Fans were straight up upset, saying letting Rainey go like that felt embarrassing, and that the guys had lost a huge chunk of their respect. Folks said Rainey is refreshing and the only one who doesn't feel like she's performing a persona, and they wanted her to shine, not disappear. Others went even harder, calling it deeply disrespectful that they talked over her, said she was being let go, and then just kept talking like nothing happened. One fan said, "We could have just had Rainey, Miles, and 2 rotating TriCast members each week, but okay." Another said it was sad because the tripod was the one Try Guys space where fans felt like they got their true personalities without everything being overly performed for the camera. The comments kept going, with fans saying Rainey not knowing her next chapter felt unsettling. One fan said if letting her go was the cost of Try Every Day coming back, they wanted a refund. Others pointed out the timing, saying Rainey was basically being laid off right before Christmas in this economy, with how tough healthcare and everything else is right now. And on top of that, the show was losing its most genuine voice. People said the move felt devastating on so many levels. Someone even wrote, "I really don't like how they just glossed over Rainey losing her job as if she hasn't carried the podcast on her back for 2 years." And honestly, a lot of people agreed. Rainey eventually posted on Instagram saying, "Yes, honey, the podcast department is coming to a close, which means my next chapter is coming to a start. The only thing is, I have no idea what the next chapter is. Very exciting, very terrifying. So is life. Drop a follow to find out with me where we're going next." She closed it by saying, "It's been an honor to be in everyone's ears for the last 5 years, and that she loves her supporters." Then she hyped the boots on the ground movement like it was just beginning. Fans flooded her comments telling her she needs to start her own podcast ASAP. People are seriously upset to see this happen and want her to take her audience and go independent. But aside from the backlash over Rainey, people also caught the shade the Try Guys slipped toward Ned during the episode. The moment happened when it sounded like they were referencing something Ariel told Ned in his recent interview. The line where she said, "You think you're interesting enough." As soon as they said it, everyone watching knew exactly what they were hinting at. Then, while they were talking about the show The Office, someone mentioned a character being engaged and having an affair, and they all got quiet and did that little, sounds familiar moment. It was subtle, but the audience clocked it instantly. Later in the episode, Miles told a story about being the admin on someone's old podcast and how this person didn't realize he was, well, you could tell he was hinting at something deeper without actually naming names. And fans were like, "Oh yeah, we know exactly who you're talking about." Miles kept talking about being still the admin on that old podcast channel, and it was pretty obvious who he meant because the only person who would still have him listed as an admin is Ned. He explained that the podcast he used to work on, Ned and Ariel's old show, was still part of the Try Guys universe, and since Miles handled the uploads, live stream tools, and video permissions back then, he still had back-end access to the channel. He said the channel wasn't being used for a long time, but recently it got revived out of nowhere, and that's why everyone instantly knew he was hinting at Ned without saying his name. There's really nobody else in that circle with a dormant podcast suddenly popping back up who would still have Miles listed with full access. So that was the extra layer of shade they were slipping in, and fans caught it instantly. They mixed that in with their own drama, the podcast ending, and all the noise going on in the Try Guys world right now, which had everyone talking nonstop. Now I seriously want to know what you think about all this. The Try Guys tossing subtle shots at Ned, the backlash they're getting from their own fans about Rainey, and everything else happening behind the scenes. And tell me how you feel about Benson joking about the Grammy situation, the Sydney Sweeney drama that's been spiraling, and Ariana getting spooked at that premiere. Drop your thoughts because I'm locked in and reading everything. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.